Ladies and gentlemen, Big Harry News.
Hey, kia ora koutou e te whānau. Welcome back to another edition of Big Hairy News. Kia ora, Chewy.
Do you know how you know it's Big Hairy News? Because we fucking tell you.
I'm a little bit embarrassed that we're wearing the same tops. We're like twins.
I'm not.
I'm the one in the yellow hat tonight. If anyone gets confused, Pat in the hat, Chewy in the beanie. Okay, so I know you'll get confused because apparently we're twinsies tonight. And unfortunately, yes, Alice is exactly that, twinsies.
No, it's coordinated.
I
I received several text messages throughout the day saying,
I
are you going to wear the BHN hoodie like you did last night? And I said, yes.
Did you wear that last night, 2 nights in a row? Bro, you're
Yeah,
gross.
it's a good hoodie.
Yeah, that's a top quality hoodie. And I'm very, very excited that almost for the first time ever, I have got every single piece of our merch on the couriers coming out to people. There is not a single order that is backed up in my system. Every single piece. So every single person should have received an email today or a couple of days ago, so by today, with their merch coming out to them in New Zealand Post in between 2 days and 6 weeks. You should receive it. I mean, let's be honest. So there you go. We won't talk about merch and stuff now. We'll talk about that a bit later on. Tonight's show, we are having a little bit. You know what, Chewy? I was thinking, Mr. Luxon, right? Our mate, our friend, beloved.
Yes.
He has had a badge of honor bestowed upon him in the last 24 hours. And that is he's been given shit by an Israeli minister for what he said. There's this very strange situation at the moment where he's got a badge of honor. Just hear about that. Interesting to see how he and his evangelical Christian friends will think of it. But it's very interesting that it feels kind of good that on the world stage, our leaders are said to be saying the right thing. Now they just have to start saying it at home and in the house where it matters. You know what I mean?
I had an immediate thought when I saw that story that some Israeli minister had said hurtful things in response to some very mild criticism from Christopher Luxon. It was kind of a good burn. She goes, fucking New Zealand, what's the most dangerous thing that these guys have to deal with? Possums. And then I thought, I would lock you in a woodshed with a possum and see who comes out on top.
Do you know what I thought? She had to go and Google that because she didn't know what kind of
What is the top predator in New Zealand? Oh, it's possums. Got it. The other thing, and this was a little bit harder for me to wrestle with, obviously not a big Christopher Luxon fan. Spent pretty much the last 2-3 years saying mean, hurtful things about him. Generally think he's pretty terrible leader, politician, human being. Lots to unpack there. But it is also a truism of New Zealanders, like, he's our guy to bully. You don't get to bully him.
A little bit, eh? Yeah.
I would fight an Israeli politician for saying bad things about Christopher Luxon because he's our idiot. You don't make fun of him.
So we're going to have a look at that tonight. We're also going to have a look at a little bit of the continuation of the ministers not turning, or former ministers and prime ministers not turning up to the inquiry, the COVID inquiry, and the prime minister today saying that they had been, what's the word you use when they've been forced to turn up? It's just jumped out in my head.
Summoned.
They had been summoned, but they hadn't really been summoned, and have a little bit of. But there's one other thing I'm going to throw out there as well. I realised tonight after watching 3 News, and I'm I'm kind of saying it sort of as a bit of a joke, but actually also I sort of think it, that this government is like being in an abusive relationship. And I'll show you why. I've got evidence to put in front of you. Like for certain sectors in society, and tonight I'm speaking specifically of nurses and teachers, it's like nurses and teachers are in an abusive relationship with the government. And I'm quite serious, because the government has got a behaviour towards those two sectors that you see in abusive relationships, right? So like I said, my tongue's in my cheek a little bit using that word, but actually the actions of this government and what they're doing to those two groups is a parallel to what happens in an abusive relationship. Have I both explained that and stepped far enough away from it, Chewie, in one fell swoop?
Who knows? My head's still spinning.
Okay, I will leave it right there. We are very, very happy and glad to have a guest with us this evening to talk over Te Reo Māori being used in very early texts of very early and young readers. So we would like to invite to the show an Associate Professor in Māori Studies from Victoria University. It is Associate Professor Dr Awanui Te Huia. Dr. Te Huia, thank you for joining us tonight.
Hey, kia ora kōrua. Thanks so much for the invitation.
Nah, anytime. And you do look like an academic with all those books behind you. It is quite impressive. We bow at your feet. We bow at your feet.
Oh, yeah. Well, hey, I might just need to take some time off so that I can actually read some of them.
Unless like they're all romance novels or something, that would take the shine off just a little bit. No?
Yeah, exactly. No, actually, they're probably kids' books filled with, all the issues that we've got going on this week.
Now, we want to have a look at, like me and Chewie have talked about this a little bit, and we've played news clips and we've played, what people are saying about this, but it's great to speak to someone who's been someone quoted in the news this week about the issue. What I thought I'd start off with, if it's okay, because we're kind of getting multiple stories. We're getting Erica Stanford Mark 1 saying it's just one book out of 75, and then that was on Sunday. And then last night we heard that this decision was made in October of last year for all books. They're going to take Māori out of all these books, whereas on Sunday it was just 6 words that were taken out, or it was too many. And I have been saying Erica Stanford has given an answer as to why they've done this. Now, we're not sitting here saying that the answer is valid or good or correct or accurate, which is why we want you here to find out the benefits, the pitfalls, if there are any, the goods, the bads of having Māori in readers for such young readers, especially when we as Kiwis kind of intersperse Māori in amongst our everyday language. Like I saw one today that they took out the word puku. And I'm like, I mean, who doesn't say puku to a kid? It's actually what we say. It's a New Zealand word. If it said stomach in a kid's book, you'd probably kind of go, oh, that's come from Australia. It actually is the opposite of what would happen.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's just play this, because this is Erica Stanford giving an answer to why they've taken Te Reo Māori out of this, as she says, one book, the educational rationale behind it. I'd like to play this and get you to respond to it.
It was one reader of 75. All of those 75 readers contain high-frequency te reo words. The issue was one around what we call scope and sequence. It's essentially when you are teaching a 5-year-old to learn to read English, you do it in a certain way. You build up sound after sound and then combination of sounds in a structured way. English is already difficult as it is, and there are a number of words that don't follow the rules you have to remember, so they're called heart words. And when you add te reo words in, they also have to be remembered as heart words, memorising the whole word, because they don't follow the same vowel sounds. And so that particular book didn't fit with the scope and sequence of all the books, and so we've sent it out to every school as a big book. It's I think the right thing to do. But what I would note at the same time as we've done this, we've also created that exact same resource for the first time ever in Te Reo Māori. We've never had a set of books for learning to read te reo in a structured, decodable way. We created those and they're available to use not only for Māori medium kura kaupapa, but also for the mainstream.
So she talks about scope and sequence. She talks about English words not following the rules. Like we can go through that. And she says because Māori words don't follow those same rules with these early learners, it's easier to not have them in there so they can learn to read. And I was wondering if you had any thoughts on that.
Yeah, there's so much, there's so much going on that in that little clip there. But I think we're also hearing different reports, not particular to that report there about, that's one example, but we've heard of others, so it might be a part of a wider issue. I think the issue is really about where the underlying beliefs are coming from, because, we do have a very strong monolingual kind of push in a historical context in this country. And kind of if we unpack the arguments that they're making here, they actually don't really stack up against all of the literature. And, if you look at international schools, I used to teach in Japan, and kids would just pick up languages, we would play with language, we would use English and Japanese, and we've got bilingual kids. They just don't struggle. They can start to recognize, and particularly you're talking about a book with 6 words, for goodness sakes. So this is a really, it just seems quite petty, to be honest, at the minor end. And then when you're making decisions about, a whole suite of kids, this is the first year of a primary school curriculum. So when you do the count, it just doesn't really stack up. And they've also got this government goal of having 1 million speakers by 2040. People who can understand Te Reo Māori and use Te Reo Māori. And one of the goals as part of that 1 million is 150,000 Māori who are under the age of 15, who they want to be able to speak 50-50 Māori. So, they're actually kind of negating their own self-set goals by doing these kinds of things. So, I think if we go back to the idea of, like translanguaging is just a proven theory that you can play with language, you can, I think they've gone with this, with that sequencing model. But we've actually seen, Waikato University have got researchers working there that have said it's not an issue. We've also heard from Canterbury University who have done other research. Some of my colleagues like Dr. Vinelson Reader and Dr. Corinne Seals, they've done translanguaging research with children in Punareo. And this is both Pākehā students and Māori students. They can handle languages much more easily than I think a lot of our older kind of people that are probably around these decision-making tables have been exposed to language. Like, our kids, our generation, they just are far more likely to see Te Reo Māori around in ways that perhaps older generations who may have a little bit of fear or anxiety around how languages work, that's perhaps informing some of their own decision makings and all of this kind of, what they like to call unconscious bias. Other people would have less polite terms about, what's actually going on there. And so I'll leave that to both of you to put into those words. But, as as somebody that needs to be a bit tidier with my language, I think it's not great.
Chewy, I think she's saying we're a bit rude with our words. Hey, just one clarity for people watching: translanguaging, meaning moving between multiple languages, is just a definition of that. Translanguaging. Yeah.
It's just a fancy term, really, just for, when people who understand multiple languages or 2 languages or more, they kind of play with languages. So that's where, you might say a word in one language from another language. And it's kind of also about identity and positioning. And so, like if you go overseas, for instance, and you're with other Kiwis, you might use Māori words to signify that you're different from other kind of international groups. And that's, I see Pākehās do that all the time when we're overseas. We will use language that is familiar to us, and Māori words are a sure point of helping to create the distinction between kind of other Westerner groups and that kind of thing. But I think it's also about, the national identity of kids and Pākehā kids as well. So it's like if they can see what Māori language is in their books, that kind of gives them a bit of an understanding so that they don't feel so kind of left out of, imagine kind of being 6 and you can't recognize very basic words. That's also like, we need to have confidence in our kids that they can kind of come up with, deal with more than one language.
And one of the problems here is, I think, in a bit of a broader picture, we're dealing with a government whose favourite sport at the moment seems to be disappearing te reo as much as they can from as many places as they can, whether it's road signs or government departments. So it sort of feels like, is this actually good educational practice, or is this just step 7 of 14 of them disappearing te reo as much as they can from as many places as they can? And that doesn't fill me with confidence of their decision making.
Yeah, I suppose it's about language status, right? So so there are a whole bunch of things that will help language revitalization take place. One of them is corpus, so how much language that we have available, so how many words that we can recognize and understand. But one of the things is status. And so when you see te reo Māori around, or you see an Indigenous or an endangered language in sort of public context, that tells you that that language has some type of value to the community. And so what actually I perceive to be happening is, we've got a whole bunch of signposts that they're doing. So they're really targeting kind of language status in lots of ways. But the trouble with this new one is that the fact that it's based on education, it just has the same ringtone as all of the other ways in which te reo Māori has been suppressed in our education system. So, we see some real stark similarities in what's happening in this context and what's happened in the past, continually across generations. So that's where it gets to get, a little bit, uncomfortable. Yeah.
Chewy sir, jump in.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear you mention the fact that learning other languages early has a net benefit for all learning afterwards. And it just baffles me that the Minister for Education seems to have missed that quite extensively researched point. There's no way that she could be unaware of it, right? In your opinion?
Yeah. I mean, with a whole ministry and, with people in those ministries who have, they've got multiple good degrees. They are educated people who are informing the decisions that are being made. So, I mean, I think this is political. I don't think that it's, it's founded on any principles of research or education. Again, I think it's just going back to signposting, and it's about language status and what they are trying to communicate to their voters is also probably likely to be at the crux of potentially what's happening here with this decision.
You don't think that there could be like a gas leak at the ministry and everybody's just doesn't know what's going on anymore? You think it's more intentional than that?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I can't speak for them, but I think that, it's not like you lose, when a new government comes in, the people who are working in those departments, they come with the government. So these are the same people who have made some really excellent decisions for Māori education in the past. So it's, for them to just do a 180, that's probably not what's going on. But without being inside, the building, it's hard for me to kind of unpack without doing a whole bunch of OIAs. And, is that what you want to do on your lunch break?
Where we saw you speaking today was in the article, Cutting Kupu Māori in Books Does More Harm Than Good. I want to ask you about harm in a second, but something that you've just said about being political, it's reminded me of this paragraph here, and I'll explain why at the end. So this is a paragraph out of the One News story. The minister made notes on the report, including one that said, so this is from the minister, this is from Erica Stanford. Interestingly, I asked Kura leaders if they would accept English words in Te Reo Māori decodable books, and they said no. So it would be consistent to keep one language only in very early year one decodable books, except for names. Now, on some level, I am possibly being a bit dramatic here. That kind of sounds like, why isn't there a day for straight people? You know, like if they can have it their way, just all Māori, then we should be able to have it our way, which is just all English. Now, it's a bit of a nicky way to think about it and think, but it does seem a little bit like Erica Stanford saying, but if Māori, if Kura leaders are saying no English in Māori books, then surely logic must dictate no Māori in English books. You know what I mean? It feels like it's got something to it. It's a bit icky.
Yeah. I think it's just a real lack of understanding about how endangered languages need to operate in order for them to survive. This is about the survival of our language. So the fact that we have these very few spaces in our society where Te Reo Māori is the only language that we're trying to encourage. And we're talking about 3% of Māori children. You know, these are very small, limited these are confined spaces where Te Reo Māori is able to be used. And, you know, even within that, it's just crazy to think that you could make that same comparison, because these are just not equal arguments. You know, our kids see English everywhere. You know, English is a dominant language of the globe. It just seems crazy to think that, you know, there's any comparison that can be made between those answers. And, you know, if they looked at any other examples of endangered languages, you know, look at Gaelic, look at any of you know, the languages that are trying to revive themselves, they would be making the exact same decisions in order to create some safety around the language. So,
I'll after we're finished here, I'll send you an interview we did. We spoke to the Welsh Language Commissioner about revitalizing, because we asked the same question: what are other countries that have a dominant English language but a indigenous language other than doing? And I looked at it quite heavily, and it's a pretty ugly find. But what we found is that for colonized countries whose indigenous language we could call white, like in Wales or in Scotland or stuff, then they have rules and laws around making the indigenous language first, literally on road signs and stuff. And in the colonized countries where the indigenous language could be classified as brown, they're the ones that I'm still minimizing it to this day. And that's what I've personally done, that gone around the world, literally spoken to the Welsh Language Commissioner, and that's what we found. And it's pretty revolting. Pretty revolting.
Yep. There's a whole stream of things I could say in response to that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I think that's the beauty, and partly, you know, one of the things that I'd encourage your audience to think about is what is the role of Pākehā? You know, I'm a Pākehā as well. I'm half Pākehā, and so I like to talk to, you know, my Pākehā people and say, you know, how do we do this? How do we create opportunities to push back against some of these really, damaging things that are happening for Te Reo Māori and for Māori people, because that lightens the load. And, you know, watching one of your episodes, perhaps it was last night's, the one with, Dr. Professor Margaret Mutu, she was talking about some, you know, similar things around, we do need our allies. We need people pushing back so that it relieves us of some of the weight that we're carrying as Indigenous people in fighting for, you know, just the basics, really. And, you know, this is going to be great for all of us. If we had a bilingual country, imagine the beauty that could be, you know, amongst us all. We can all where we would all be able to see a whole nother worldview that's specific, that's located here where we've all grown up. So it's really just thinking about what's the potential for a better future. What's the potential for we probably all went to school around the same time. We would have had a similar exposure to Te Reo Māori or not, and so we kind of I joke with some of my students who come into Reo Māori classes, and we go through counting from 1 to 10, we go through the colours, and I say, oh, was that, and we all joke that that's probably the extent of their Reo Māori education, and so we want to be better than that, and that starts from age 5, and actually it starts from the womb, because as soon as children have ears, they hear, they can start to differentiate languages, they can learn the differentiation between mum's voice and whoever is around them.
Just super quick to wrap up, and thank you for giving us some time. I know we're pretty much done, and you've had a long day. But we have talked about, in the article that we featured there, talked about the harm that this could cause. Like, the harm outweighs the good, other way around. But we've talked a bit about educationally and how it actually helps in that. I was also wondering if you'd like to speak to the idea of, culturally. What is this teaching our 5-year-olds culturally about what this, you're talking about this way we speak and taking it around the world. Like, I used to do talkback back in the day on News Talk ZB, and I would often say the only thing that really identifies us as Kiwis, the only thing that's really unique to us compared to South Africa, compared to Australia, compared to other colonized majority, Caucasian countries now, is the Māori culture. So it's sort of a part of all of our stories, because we're all a part of the country. And I'm wondering if you've got any thoughts around what this does culturally. What is this teaching kids? Forget about being academically, but what does it say to them about what their now teachers have to put foot in front of them with this this part of our country that's unique to us?
Yeah, it's about values, really, and we know that mainstream education curriculum is being used as a tool of assimilation. So that's where we sort of prioritize what it means to be Pākehā identity becomes, the dominant identity. So basically what we're trying to do is, what would be the preference is for all children in New Zealand to see Te Reo Māori as a normal language, as a language that they can feel like they have some understanding of, and that it's not something that's, that they need to be fearful of or anxious about using. All of the hang-ups that, that a lot of adults are dealing with, if we can kind of introduce it really normally at age 5, I've got a 5-year-old, she would, when you start to introduce new concepts to them, they pick it up so readily, rather than kind of waiting till we're kind of overthinking everything. Let's just do it while they're young, and allow them to have that that freedom to kind of make mistakes as well, because when you're 5 and you're making mistakes, that's totally normal. Don't wait until they're older than that, and when they're all self-conscious about, oh, did I say it right? Oh, it's like, oh, just let them have a go and be corrected when they're at, a normal age of being corrected as well. So but I mean, I really appreciate the mahi that you both do in terms of trying to socialise, different ideas and hopefully getting some thinking going about how we might, change some of these things, and also giving each other sort of encouragement to use Te Reo Māori outside of these kind of institutions. Like, for instance, I went to get some shoes today, and the lady at the counter, I wasn't sure what ethnicity she was. She heard me and the kids talking Te Reo Māori, and she checked us out completely in Te Reo Māori, which was cool. Not only was it cool for me, but it was cool for the kids, because they turned around, they're like, oh my gosh, she can speak Māori, which is just not something that they get to see as well. So, that's really cool to, it's cool to see, it being normalised.
That's very cool. Joe, anything you want to ask before we wrap up? Thank you so much for your time tonight, Awanui.
Yeah, no worries.
Oh, nothing specific. I think we've covered everything that just really shows that the position that Erica Stanford's taking here is just built on a hill of nonsense and backed up by quite a bit of ignorance. So hopefully people like ourselves see straight through that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Man.
Oh.
Dr Awanui Te Huia, Associate Professor in Māori Studies from Victoria University. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. And I guess it's time for bed now, eh?
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, mate. Thanks so much.
All the best.
Okay.
Cheers then.
Thank you.
Yes, interesting. Very interesting. Very lucky to have Awanui as a part of our conversation. Shall we do some super chats? Let's do some super chats, and then I've got a little bit of housekeeping to do, a little bit of family news to share, and then we will keep going. Bum, 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 bum. Kiwi Bird says Israel hates us. Can we sanction them now? Yeah, good point. Arvid says I send this donation to Tangent and teach Pat's girlfriend how to learn te reo with a song recommendation. The Maori alphabet song on YouTube. I get it. I'm thinking my girlfriend. I understand now. I've got it. I'm picking up.
We're not talking about your wife.
The enemy of my enemy is my enemy's enemy. Nothing more, nothing less. Thank you, Peter. Richard says, after Simeon's comments today, I want to hit you with this. For every additional patient a nurse takes on past safe nurse-patient ratios, hospital mortality rates increase by 7%. Yeah. We'll get to that. Thank you, Richard, for your super chat. More from Arvid's Erica has no heart words standards. James says overseas kids are multilingual learners, Erica. Rajan says, oh, what just happened there? Oh, we'll do Andrew then. 500 watches, 60 likes. Out, let's effing go. Chat up those numbers. It really helps. Of course, you're not getting the numbers that are on Twitter, Twitch, and Facebook as well. Sure we can see those. Rajan says this government is anti-intellectual. Wellington Ruru says late fee, and then is it Deebs? Deebs makes me think of Mr. Deeds, the Adam Sandler movie. It just gives us a sticker. Thanks for the sticker. Yeah. Anything else you want to pick up on from that conversation, Joe? I think it was pretty full and understandable.
Yeah. I think this is the thing that baffles me, right? I think when Erica has spoken about these sort of things, she comes off very convincing that she knows all of these aspects of teaching new learners and how language is absorbed in an educational background. She doesn't have a grounding in this, does she?
I don't think so.
Not a teacher. She's never worked with new entrants and that.
As far as I know, all I'll say is as far as.
But she speaks like she does.
Yeah.
Like I know she's a parent and all of that sort of stuff. But I mean that maybe makes you an expert in your own kids, not the education of all kids everywhere. And I think this is the danger. Where is she getting her information from? We touched on this a little bit last night, that Erica has a couple of key advisors in the background that has some very specific views on certain aspects of our education system, what things that education system should be teaching, what cultures should perhaps occupy a more heightened position in our education system, maybe a position of, say, supremacy over other lesser cultures, shall we say. And in conjunction with everything else we've had from this government, I know some, probably no one in our chat, some are really uncomfortable with taking a position that our government has some very strong positions on white supremacy. And again, need to reiterate that talking about white supremacy doesn't mean that they're charging around in white hoods and armbands and jackboots. It can be really banal, that it's just an assumed thing that English is the best language to learn here, that it has the highest value, the highest payoff, all of these sort of things, that we have no other responsibility outside of that, because what possible benefit can learning the Indigenous language here have? And we are starting to see around the world that there is a value in preserving and promoting something that is unique, that is not found anywhere else. If you want to make it an economic thing, tourism, and the reason that people travel so far and spend so much money to get here, what are the aspects that having more people able to understand the Māori culture and te reo as a language would have in the future? Are we thinking long term? Is that the problem? Is that the problem we've run into? It's long term thinking. This government doesn't do it.
Yeah. Interesting, eh? Right. Let us get to a little bit of housekeeping. There's been a slight, you don't even know it this, Chewy, unless you've seen it. I didn't tell you. There's been a slight change.
Shit,
there's been a change. There's been a movement in the force, Chewy. We got, what did I send you? Something like 900,000 views on Facebook last month.
Oh,
So
yes. Yep.
yeah, approaching 1 million views on Facebook a month. And I thought that maybe this was a good time, seeing we are now a network with multiple products, to turn the Facebook page into it's no longer the BHN page. It is now the Big Hairy Network page, just like on YouTube. That means you can see content other than BHN on the page. Now I'll be uploading any of the content that is on the Big Hairy Network, which is us, which is Locked Out with Craig Rennie, and is the Frontline with Dr. Gary Pienda. New Zealand Nurses Organisation President Anne Daniels says, great idea. Lots of people seem pretty happy about the idea and where it's going. Apparently Craig Rennie both has to grow a beard and somewhere else doesn't need a beard because he's the respectable looking one. So and it also means there's actually a literal change to the URL. We are now Big Hairy Network on Facebook, not Big Hairy News. And there's one other thing I'm going to add to it. So there's actually there's Locked Out that was released this morning. That's the first one that's going up there. That's up there and it's going up there now, talking about lots of things to do with the economy, a Treasury long-term insights briefing on fiscal policy. I know, gets you hard. And tomorrow morning, it will be Gary Pienda's next episode. Now, that also brings me into a conversation, Chewy, which we're not really talking about today, but I wanted people to know a little bit of information that I found out through some of Gary's work. Now, we all know Ed Miller here. Ed Miller is from, I can't remember the name of the group that's got is it an anagram when it's the letters of the number? But he's the guy who basically did a world exclusive on Uber and the taxes that Uber weren't paying. Because this is so prevalent in the news this week, this has been recorded a few weeks ago, but we released it tomorrow morning. They did a piece on the myth of millionaire migration. The myth of millionaire migration, as in when you change the taxes to like a wealth tax or a CG2, millionaires will flee. They'll take their money elsewhere. It's actually been researched. I'm going to play you the introduction to the episode. So this is the whole episode, right? You can see it's 21 minutes, but I do a little intro at the start to give you a bit of a highlight of what's in the show. So have a listen, and then we're going to do one more thing with this information. So remember, government's telling us, bring it on. CG, I hope Labor goes for that capital gains tax, and you watch the wealthy flee in record numbers. Well, there's research on that. There's research.
A year or so ago, the British government said that it was going to roll back a set of rules that it had that were about people who lived outside the UK but still had UK tax residence. Under those rules, as they stood at the time. You could book income outside of the UK, and if that income wasn't generated in the UK, then you weren't subject to that taxation. And it meant that a lot of income that was being produced by UK citizens wasn't being taxed and not able to provide decent public services. That report received about 11,000 pieces of media coverage, not just in the UK, but around the world. It was very widely circulated. TJN, Tax Justice Network, dug into the numbers and found that the amount of millionaires that migrated from the UK that year under the threat of those non-dom changes came to 9,500 people, and that in terms of the context of the number of millionaires in the UK at the time, it was 0.3% of millionaires that moved.
So 99.7% of the wealthy, after these changes were made in the UK, stayed. 0.3% left. And I suspect, I don't have the exact numbers yet, but I suspect losing that 0.3 is probably easily made up by the tax take of the other 99.7 who decided to stay. And there's lots of reasons for that, including like wanting a functional society. Now, one other thing I want to tell you about that, because I've had a conversation about that on Facebook today, and I am interested to show you because I had that piece of information in my head. And when I released a clip, might have been yesterday, that me and Magents did on Monday, about Christopher Luxon trying to imply that a CGT would be terrible for New Zealand and he hopes Labour runs on it. Some lovely person who is probably not a real person, Stephen Olsen, says, we want to encourage wealth creation, not discourage. Conversation starts off about tax. You realise that tax does discourage. We've seen people, and this is it, we've seen people leaving the UK to avoid tax increase that the Labour government has applied there. So, of course, I got a chance to say 0.3% of the millionaires left the UK when the tax laws changed. I don't spread disinformation now. That means 99.7% stay. To which his response was, and yet the tax take fell massively. What a surprise. Now, this is what this side of politics will do. Do you notice the dates here, Chewy?
Mm.
So revenue fell 18% in the 2023-2024 year. That means this year finishes April 2024. The changes to the tax law came in this year. So this person is trying to say, yeah, but when they did that, look, the tax take fell. It's like the tax take is not, the changes weren't in that year. So your evidence that it's not working is to cite the tax year ending April 5, 2024, when the non-dom tax laws changed. This, which is the changes you say caused the flee, came into the phase in over 4 years from April of this year. The person then kind of goes, everyone understands it was a bad call by Labour, everyone, to which I do my favourite one at the end of that. Notice he's made a point, I've refuted it. He's made a point, I've refuted it. He's made a point, and I've just told him that he must be a very strong man with all that goalpost shifting he's been doing. But that episode this is basically a big tease for the episode. That episode of Gary Painda's show is coming up tomorrow morning. It gets released at 6 a.m. It is on YouTube, and it is on the Facebook page, which is now the Big Hairy Network. Facebook.com/Big Hairy Network. I just thought that was an interesting time because people are talking about it literally right now around the CGT. A form of increasing the wealthy being taxed in the UK has just happened. There's no flee. And as you always say, Chewy, if they do flee, they typically are going to flee to a place where there's a capital gains tax or a wealth tax anyway.
Where are they going?
Yeah.
Where are they going? Like, these are the people that have so much money that the decision to uproot your life and run to another country probably has less hurdles than it would do for your average person. You know, you just hop on a jet, take a business class, pop a couple of sleeping pills, wake up in a different part of the world and have your shipping company just sort it out for you.
Yeah.
You know, there's not a lot of barriers there. But they don't. They don't. They like living where they live. That's why they made their choice. And all of the screaming and moaning about, oh, they're going to run away, it just doesn't bear out. Yeah. And if we're talking about a class of people, a property-owning class of people that are contributing less than the average person is. Like, again, the work has been done. We know this. IRD knows this. Then why are we fighting so hard to keep it? Because they will talk about the amount of money, not the percentage. That means that you are carrying a higher burden than someone much, much more able to carry a burden than you are. That is not fair.
Yeah.
That is why everybody that talks about having an honest conversation about a fairer tax system has my attention.
Yeah.
What we have at the moment, and I'm sure people on social media have noticed this, is, by God, Acton National are trying to bang an empty bucket. I saw them put out a social media post that Labor refuses to rule out taxing the family home. They refuse to rule it out because they haven't talked about it at all. And National is not handling this very well at all. They have nothing to talk about. Like, they might as well have put out a press release that says, Labor's refusing to rule out mincing up your nan. Yeah, of course they're not. Nobody's talking about it.
And if you ever needed evidence, and I know you didn't, you're smart people, but if you ever needed evidence that Twitter has long gone, just go and read they're not even, they try to be offensive. They're not, I don't care. They're not even that offensive. But, you don't know anything. No one wants it. Show me you haven't watched the item. By show me you haven't watched the item. You weren't here, Chewy, but of course, one of the things I did do was bring up the.
No, there I am.
I've got
a cool hat.
Bring up the article. 2/3 of voters support capital gains tax. So all these people say no one wants this. No one wants this. What do you mean? Who are you saying? No one. It's like, so you haven't watched it at all, because it literally in the video I showed the article that points to the evidence of the research that say 2/3 of New Zealanders want some kind of capital gains tax. And that's the whole point we're making. The whole point we're making is if Luxon says bring it on, it's going to be bad. I'm like, bring it on. It's no longer controversial.
And that poll keeps happening. They keep on, they keep on putting it out, and they keep on getting the same result, or they get a better result, or that sort of thing. Oh shit! Oh fuck! No, not like that. Ask the question again. Ask them again. They've said the same answer again. Yeah, they don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck because we are hurting and everything around us is falling apart. The schools, the police, the health system, our infrastructure. Winston Peters is saying that having a tent as some sort of passenger terminal is fine because we can't afford the Taj Mahal. We used to be able to afford things. I had a conversation with my mum going like, there's just no way that we're able to do this because we're too small a population. And I said, how did we used to do things when we had a smaller population then? And she goes, oh, yeah, that's right. We used to tax the wealthy. Everybody did. Everybody did. You had Europe rebuilding itself after World War II. You had USA going, you know what? We're going to fight several wars and go into space to the moon at the same time. And we're going to have just a mammoth standard of living. Like, we're just a massive, everybody gets a refrigerator. We don't care. They all did that because they were taxing the wealthy at 80 to 90%. And the sky didn't fall in. We created a golden age. And then during the 80s, everybody went, hey, the wealthy don't like it. They want us to stop. And we did. We stopped doing it. And the decline began. The rot set in. It happened everywhere in the West. It happened here. And we just can't keep going. Neoliberalism will do it. Late stage capitalism, it's a great, like, don't try anything else. Don't look into it. This is fine. It's not fine. Let's do something different.
And if you are watching us, I believe the hashtag that Chewy has just started is hashtag mince my nan. I think that's now going around the globe. Hashtag mince my nan.
The mince my nan tax plan.
All right. Let's do this. This is a little shorty for you as well. And I know it's weird, because I am kind of tongue in cheek a little bit, but there is a behaviour that this government is now doing, which you see in abusive relationships. I want to demonstrate that to you right now. So this is a very quick story about nurses going on strike again shortly. No set date, I don't think. But I want you to hear what Simeon Brown says about the nurses going on strike.
The Health Minister has slammed the New Zealand Nurses Organisation for planning to strike again. 36,000 nurses, midwives and healthcare assistants are set to walk off the job for 2 days early next month. They say they're concerned about understaffing in our hospitals, but Simeon Brown says the union is playing politics.
They're targeting patients. Ultimately, it's about the patients. That's what's happening here. Those patients are having their lives disrupted. They're having their care cancelled and delayed and postponed. And quite frankly, that is unacceptable.
If negotiations are unsuccessful, the strike will take place on September 2nd and 4th.
So that's the that's part one. Now I take you to Judith Collins. Judith Collins, who has been talking about secondary school teachers striking. Listen to what she says.
The union says the government needs to make better choices as it fights for a better pay offer ahead of a strike next Wednesday. Government ministers have gone on the offensive, saying that after just 6 days of bargaining, the union's actions are disproportionate. Judith Collins saying what the teachers are doing is an attack on students. But as Adam Hollingworth reports, the PPTA says next week's strike is still probable but not inevitable.
Teachers plan to strike next Wednesday, with rolling action to come next month. The government, in turn, has taken aim at the teachers for what it says they're about to do to their students.
If you don't get your own way without even asking what it is you want, you just run off and behave like they've behaved and put other people's lives, their education at risk when it doesn't need to be.
Today, the Public Service Minister ratcheted up the rhetoric on morning news programmes.
Just have a heart. Stop using these kids like some football.
Collins going even further on Morning Report.
There's going to be a lot of options that we're looking at as a government as to how to move away from this basically nearly attack on students.
It's really disappointing.
I look, not. I know we got a bit of stick yesterday for a little bit of shade on the way people look, but does it sound like she's got her teeth out in this conversation to you? I mean, like, I'm actually not trying. I'm just being serious. It sounds like she's taken her dentures out.
Basically nearly attack on students.
It's really disappointing.
Yeah. Anyway, so in an abusive relationship, I've never been in one, but I've had friends and friendships with people who have. Often, especially the woman will be told, you're going to damage the kids. You have to stay. You're going to damage the kids. And you've got a government now. Now,
I was rough, but yeah.
But I was kind of being a bit jokey at the start, but that's what I said. But the language is the same. So an abusive husband will use the kids as a way to keep the woman from leaving, keep the wife, the partner from leaving. What these guys are doing on the same day, right? The same day, at different times to different people, you've got the health minister saying you're damaging patients, and you've got the PSA, whatever she is, public services, which saying you're damaging students. It's the same. This is a tactic you see in abusive relationships. You see the abuser taking a person who is seen as more vulnerable and using them to keep the other person in check. So even though I'm kind of being 10% tongue-in-cheek, I'm being absolutely serious when I say that what they are doing and how they are speaking is the same tactic as an abusive husband would use to keep his wife in check by using the kids. Chewy?
Yeah, look, my whole thing with this is, and you've seen it from both ministers, that the blame is being very clearly put on teachers and nurses. Like, they're the ones that started this. They're the ones that are being unreasonable. I'm sorry, but just putting a 1% pay rise on the table, less than inflation pay rise on the table, is an insult.
And then bleating when they say no thanks.
That's not negotiating.
Yeah.
That's not negotiating in good faith. Like, and then when you go, well, that's not going to be acceptable to our members. Are we able to increase? Like, we're doing a negotiation now. So, like, we would like more, please. And look, if it's a proper negotiation, the union's gone, actually, we'd prefer 25% increase and back pay and just something unreasonable. And you meet in the middle. But this government seems to go 1%, times are tough, we've got no money in the cabinet, ignore our leader taking a $27,000 Pavlova trip. Not important. Ignore the fact that he's boasting about $6 billion worth of infrastructure spending. It's not the hospital you work in. Don't worry about it. It's not the school buildings that you work in. Don't worry about it. It's roads. And then you go 1% is all you get. Go away, peasant. And then if you go, well, the only other tool in our toolbox is strike action. And we know what that means. For nurses, they know what that means. And for Simeon Brown to suggest that they're putting people at risk, people are being put at risk right fucking now. By not having enough nurses, by not having safe rostering, by not having a safe work environment. All of those people are being put at risk right now because of the state of our health system. Those kids, a lot of them are learning in substandard buildings, in unsafe or unsanitary conditions, by teachers that are overwhelmed by the amount of pupils they have to teach because there isn't enough resources for them to have more teachers' aides or more planning. And remember, the government's just chucked a big chunk of the curriculum out the fucking window.
Yeah.
So it is pay and conditions. The nurses union especially has been really, really clear on this. And I think you are looking at two major groups of workers deciding to go on strike very, very close to each other. And fam, I have to say, I feel this is getting closer. This is getting closer to something akin to a modern general strike.
Yeah.
Because if your two major unions decide, hey guys, we're fighting the same battle against the same government, maybe our strikes need to be on the same day.
Yeah. I think because we've started watching this story, I mean, because it's actually, I don't want to dismiss the actual story, but I did want to show the part about the abusive relationship. We will just get to the end of the story. It's got 90 seconds about what the teachers are up to and when they want to, what they're saying about the strike.
It's really disappointing that that's the language she's using. Teachers don't want to strike. We'd much rather be teaching. And our students and our parents know this.
The union says the government could do better if it tried that little bit harder.
I think at the end of the day, they are trying to do the best that they can do, but they need to make better decisions effectively. You know, put my teacher's hat on.
You know,
we all got to make better choices, and I think this government could make better choices.
The government has offered 1% a year for 3 years. The teachers want 4% a year for 3 years, plus 4% in the first year in recognition of the abandoned pay equity scheme. Judith Collins believes there'll be little sympathy for that, saying teachers are earning $147,000 a year after 10 years. The PPTA says only a few vice principals are on that kind of money.
I've never been
that
even
sounds
close
familiar,
to that.
doesn't it?
I was probably the closest I've ever been was $30,000 short of that. So I don't know where she's getting this 147,000 stat. I think there'd be maybe 100 senior leaders in this country who would be earning that much.
There's another meeting tomorrow with the union saying a strike is still probable, but
there's a bit of distance to make, but it's not impossible. We're meeting on Friday. It's up to the government to come to the party. We don't need to engage in this industrial action.
But it seems both sides will have to make big compromises before industrial action is called off.
Hey, Chewy, something that's a bit silly, but is true. The numbers are true. You know, we've got 14 billion in tax cuts, 3 billion for landlords, and now $1 billion to big tobacco, because that $230 million tax rebate was rolled out over another 3 years. So that's 18 billion altogether. If you divided 18 billion by 105,000, that's how many teachers there are. Now, I'm not saying this would happen because you have other public servants. You could give them all a $171,000 increase. The money that's going in tax returns, landlords, and big tobacco spread evenly amongst all the teachers, would give them $171,000 each. I'm not saying that would happen, but that just goes to show how easy would it be to give them $5,000 each. Pretty easy. Pretty easy. Anyhow.
My silly comment is that spokesperson for the teachers union, I trust him because I trust his beard.
I trust his beard more than my own life.
Yeah.
He is a worthy man.
And can I also say that coming from a teacher, the thing of you must make better choices is devastating.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine this kindly teacher just going, now, come on, mate, you're running around lighting fires. You've got to make better choices.
Come on, buddy.
Yeah. You're making things hard for yourself. Look, this is not going to surprise anyone. I'm going to say it anyway. I will always stand with teachers. I will always stand with nurses. Teachers especially, because some of them will be teaching kids that were like I was when I was a kid, and there's not enough money in the world to deal with little Chewy. There's not enough money in the world. But again, we've seen that tactic, right? Is that they've pulled out a document, they've looked at what the top fucking pay scale is, and they've implied to people that, hey, did you know teachers are earning $147,000? I'm not going to take any questions. Poof, goodbye.
So just to come back into what I was saying, you could give every teacher in New Zealand $100 a week increase, $5,000 a year for about $500 million. $500 million. 18 million given away to those three places. Half a billion. So you could do that 36 times. There you go.
But the government has shown what its priorities are. It's to throw money at landlords. It's to throw money at big overseas tobacco companies. It's thrown money getting rid of te reo from everywhere and continuing to do that work. They're currently burning big piles of money here in Dunedin by pausing our hospital build again so they can shuffle the deck chairs. It is crazy. And I have to believe that people are waking up to this. I have to believe that this is a one-term government. It has to happen. You jump on social media at the moment, and I was talking to Pat before we went live. As I said yesterday, I'm interacting with the National Party social media page. The amount of people that are cheerleading National or ACT at the moment, or New Zealand First, or bringing up the fact that Labour are coming to tax everybody, everyone. They're going to take all of your money. They're going to take your house away. All of this sort of stuff. Or they're criticising Ardern or Hipkins for they've never answered any questions ever. They're just hiding everything. There's one thing that I've noticed. Every time I go to interact with someone making a comment like that, especially on Facebook, I'm clicking on their account. Is it a fake name? Do they have any friends? All of this sort of stuff. Yeah. The amount of, let's be generous and say, troll accounts that are out there at the moment, cheerleading this stuff. It is a coordinated campaign. Do not waste your time with these people. Put your comment out there, what you think is an authentic person. It sticks out when it's a real person. I had someone trying to get me into, well, what questions has Hipkins answered? I looked at his account, locked. Like John Key's favourite flag as a profile picture, and 8 friends. And I said, no thanks, I'm not wasting my evening on a sock puppet account. Goodbye. It is going to be an exhausting 12 months.
It is, but we're here for it, baby. Some super chats. Speed Locked NZ, thank you for your super chat. For fuck's sake, enable dark mode, you hippie. LOL. Also, donation for Nala Cam.
Oh, it's true. People that do dark mode are cooler. Do you know how to do dark mode, Pat?
Yeah. Was that aimed at me? Is it?
That didn't sound very confident. Yeah.
Oh no, I know how to do it.
Your nuclear white Twitter page. Well, maybe that's how they like it. Whites 940.
Only. Whites only. Citizen says reporters need to be asking questions like, are you aware that the vast majority of people see your actions, hear your words, and just don't believe you. An older gentleman once told me, and I've used this a lot when I talk to my kids, it's like when words and actions don't align, believe the actions. You can say that with this government, man. Oh, we are on the way to reducing smoking numbers in New Zealand. What are our actions? We'll get rid of smoke-free 2025 and we'll give $1 billion to big tobacco.
This isn't a targeted thing against. This isn't a targeted thing against Maori. We're just putting forward the treaty principles bill, the RSB. We're changing all the road signs. We're changing the names of the ministry. We're getting rid of
Maori Health Authority
Maori in schools, Maori Health Authority. Like, fuck, even just rattling off that list off the top of my head.
We've probably missed half
and you
of
telling
them.
me that there's not a dedicated assault? Yeah. Far out, man.
Kiwi Bird says, let them eat Pav. Very good. And Peter Syme says, Little Chewy would be a great rap name. Hey?
The raps, though, would be terrible.
Would they?
Terrible.
Punk rap? Anyone done punk rap? I know there was that whole oh, yeah, true. And there was that whole movement in the late 90s for kind of, what do they call it? Like powder puff punk? Kind of like more like pop music pump, the Blink 182s and that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah, pop punk.
Yeah, pop punk, yeah. All right. Hey, Chewy, this is going to be a bit strange because I think we're both pretty stoked that this man should be wearing this as a badge of honor. I mean, I do think that. Don't you think that? Actually being kind of told to fuck off by Israel or an Israeli minister, you know, it's a broken clock, all that stuff.
Look, let's not climb the pole too hard here. Let's be clear that Israeli ministers are telling everybody to fuck off.
Yeah, you'd have to do that. Yeah. All right, fair enough. Let's have a look, eh? Have a look, have a listen, have a wee cuddle. Here we go.
Christopher Luxon isn't backing off his comments that Israel's leader has
He's
lost
a big
the
boy
plot
with
over
big
Gaza.
jobs.
He says he was expressing a personal view, with the remark making
Except that's a bit fucking soft. I wasn't wearing my Prime Minister cap. I wear many caps, and that was the coach of my son's 11-year-old basketball team cap when I said that. Not Prime Minister and not leader of the National Party.
Before you hit play again as well, Chris or anybody from the Labour team that's watching, this would be an excellent opportunity for the leader of the opposition to make a strong statement against Israel and tell Benjamin Netanyahu to go and kick rocks and stop being a fucking egg.
Because they're Googling what our worst predators are at the moment. They found possums.
Yeah.
So there you go. There you go.
International news, we asked Kiwis about the PM's language. Senior political reporter Benedict Collins.
Dirty language.
Our Prime Minister's serve has been heard around the world.
Comments from New Zealand's Prime Minister Christopher
Luxon.
Fragile. That Benjamin Netanyahu had lost the plot.
Netanyahu has gone way too far. I
CNN,
think he
bro.
has lost the plot.
He was condemning Israel's.
Says what I was saying earlier. It's like around the world, this is a good look for New Zealand around the world because it looks like New Zealand has made a stand. Now, we all know that's horseshit, and we all still understand that the spineless jellyfish in a blue suit, is that right? Did I get that right, Joey? Is doing what he's doing. But around the world, it looks like, man, look at these Kiwis at the bottom. They're standing up to Netanyahu. It's not the case. That's why I said it's kind of a cool look.
Sorry, we're late. Sorry, we're so late.
Latest assault on Gaza City, tens of thousands of Palestinians have already been killed. But an Israeli minister hit back at Christopher Luxon on social media.
I guess when you don't really need an army because your most deadly enemy is a possum.
It's got a Kiwi accent, that Israeli minister.
Or a cat, you wouldn't comprehend the challenges that come with facing Hamas, a jihadist death cult.
Back home, Christopher Luxon was digging in.
I'm also the Prime Minister that designated the whole of Hamas a terrorist organisation. You know, I understand Hamas, but what I'm talking about is the humanitarian catastrophe and suffering that we're seeing in Gaza. And actually, you know, we need Israel to heed the global community's calls.
Not resiling from saying Netanyahu has lost the plot.
I'll just express my personal view, which is to say that, you know, we have had a global community consistently calling for time now to say release hostages.
It wasn't just me. It wasn't just me that said it. Other people said it too. Don't pick. You know. I don't want to be. I don't want to be the one to, you know, put my head above the parapet. I think that's right. Not just me. There's other people who have said stuff as well. Look at Albanese. Go see him first, then come see me.
Provide humanitarian assistance, ceasefire.
So what do the public think about the PM's language?
I agree, Netanyahu's is disgraceful.
I suspect that Netanyahu is trying to extend the war as much as possible.
And they need to be stopped.
Others just wanted the government to get on with recognising Palestine.
What's happening in Gaza right now is crazy, and I think recognising Palestine as a state would show that New Zealand actually cares about the people.
You know what's interesting about this? They couldn't find anyone to back Israel. TVNZ couldn't find anyone today to disagree with the sentiments towards Israel. Because there is, I'm telling you, from not working for TVNZ, but working in those circles, there is no way if one person had have said something about Christopher Luxon should pull his head in, that they wouldn't have used it. Because they would have wanted to at least put some kind of quote-unquote balance on. That means TVNZ could not find a single person on the Wellington waterfront, hippies in Wellington, all your lefties, who would agree, would back Israel, which in and of itself, Chewy, is an interesting little poll.
I think it should.
Yeah, why do you say that?
Because they're people, you know. They've been mistreated.
If they can find a formula that allows for a Palestinian state without a group like Hamas running it, I would support that.
Our government now weighing up how to go about it. Benedict Collins, One News.
There you go. Chewy, sir. Round the world, the world thinks that we are giving the middle finger to Netanyahu. We know that our Prime Minister is going, I said something, I got in trouble. I do stand by it, but I need at least 6 months before I make an official public statement.
It was certainly a brave man to do a photo op where he's digging a hole. I'm just saying. Look, I'm just looking at that Israeli minister's state. Like the piece that we just played actually chopped off the end of her statement. You wouldn't comprehend the challenges that come with facing Hamas, a jihadist death cult, only a few kilometers away from your country that rape, execute, burn alive, and starve your people. Can we just run through that? Have the IDF been raping Palestinians? And has that been seen on camera?
Yes, and seen on camera behind big shield while men stand around blocking the windows.
Okay, so they're using rape as a weapon of war. That is a war crime. Executions. We heard of executions, people being pulled aside or just executed with snipers, bullets, that sort of thing. Burned alive. Burned alive. Have we had burned alive? We have had burned alive. I will never be able to scrub that video from my fucking brain of people in hospital beds being burned alive. Starvation. I don't remember Hamas starving Israeli citizens. I do see a lot of Palestinians being starved. So I think this Israeli minister is a little bit...
This might be an appropriate backdrop to your point. I just thought,
Yeah. Have we got matching drone footage from downtown Tel Aviv?
Fuck, it still blows me away just looking at that, man. I'm just like, that's not real. That's a CG movie set for Hiroshima or something. It's not real. Fucking hell.
So look, on behalf of Christopher Luxon, because I think he's had a moment overnight of going, oh shit, people noticed, and I said that Netanyahu's lost the plot and a whack job and all of that. That's too strong. So I'm going to try and walk that back. And I said that as a private citizen rather than the big leader of a big, proper, real country that has a flag and everything. So on behalf of Christopher Luxon, to this Israeli minister who's got confused over what Hamas has done and what her own defense forces have done, kick rocks, lady. Kick rocks. We can see you for what you are. I saw today that one of the proposals that the Israelis are working on is to move everyone still alive in Gaza to South Sudan. And look, because I know my history a little bit, one time there was a proposal from this guy to move a problematic population out of the place that they were causing the problem, Europe, and move them all in their entirety to Madagascar. It didn't happen. They decided to go in a different way that involved death camps and gas chambers and stuff like that. But that's what their plan was. And I'm just saying I see parallels is all. I see in these footages, I wonder if you put a drone up over the Warsaw Ghetto in 1944, would it look like this? It wouldn't, because it was a smaller area. They didn't destroy as much. But Christopher Luxon, you had a chance today to be a leader. You got real close yesterday.
Yeah.
You had a chance as a Prime Minister to gather your caucus around and say, look, I might have let a true thought escape my mouth in front of a camera, but you know what? I've had to think about it, and it's the right thing to do.
Yep, let's get on with it.
So Winnie P, call up the Israelis and tell them to take their ambassador home. Then find someone, anyone from Palestine, we're going to pick him to be an ambassador, and we're going to give him the Israeli embassy.
Yeah.
And then we're going to do something. Not this half-hearted, we're kind of going to walk it back, Christopher Luxon special. Like, be a leader.
Is that from Discord? I just saw the face. I hadn't seen the face until just, I saw the face just then. I see the face now.
It's so good. Yes, that is from our Discord.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, at every turn, Christopher Luxon disappoints.
Yeah.
Like, he was almost there. He can almost see that this is a moment. He had his hands out. He almost touched the bell. He slipped on his shoelaces, fell flat on his face, ripped his pants, and now he has to go home. Come on, man.
I just want to show this one more time because I've lived in Auckland for most of my life. I now live in Dunedin. This drone is, well, these are 4-story buildings. So this drone is, 10 stories in the air. Imagine, like, if you live in Auckland, you go up Redoubt Road out by Manukau and you look north over the whole city. If you're in Dunedin, you go to Signal Hill, and I guess you're looking south over the whole city. What's the mountain in Wellington that the tunnel goes under? Mount Victoria? You can go up there, can't you? Yep. And go and you're looking out over the whole. Because what's just hit me this very second is this is the horizon line, right? And from, let's be generous and just call it, because that's 4 stories. Let's just call this 6 stories up. From 6 stories up, so that's a hill at least, as literally as far as the eye can see to the horizon. So you're up Redoubt Road, or you're up One Tree Hill, and you can see Takapuna, you can see all the way around to West Auckland, out to Henderson, you can see back around to Manukau, you can see all these spaces, and it looks like that. That is unbelievable. That is, and remember, talking of Auckland, twice the size, more than 2 million people. And as far, this is not like a, like when there's the fires in LA, and unfortunately Trump goes, all of Los Angeles was burning. No, there was a sector of Los Angeles burning, and 80% of it was fine. No. I can't even say it's the reverse, because 20% is not fine. It's as far as the eye can see. Honestly, we've watched these videos a couple of times. I'm still shocked right now to look at this video. It's shocking. There's no other way. I actually can't comprehend it. I can't comprehend how many places bombs would have to have landed from where we are in this drone to the horizon. How many bombs? One there, 100 meters maybe? One there, 100 meters? Whatever it is. How many would have had, not just in a straight line to go straight to the horizon, but then 100 meters either side in a straight line to flatten everything.
Let's bring it home. Let's bring it home. We've all been to Wellington, right? And I'm talking about Wellington City. I'm not talking about upper and lower Hatapoda or anything like that. I'm just talking about Wellington City. Wellington City is 444 square kilometres. So I want you to hold that thought. Maybe you've flown into Wellington, you've looked out the plane window, you've seen the city there. Gaza is 365 square kilometres. It's smaller than Wellington City is. And what we've seen from that drone footage is every single building is destroyed.
Yeah. And I don't want to make this flippant because this is a lovely photo, but there's Mount Victoria looking over Wellington.
Right.
Now
so imagine that, all of those buildings, everything, gone.
Yeah.
Sometimes the reality of it and looking at something on a map or something like that just doesn't bring it home until you literally bring it home. Gaza Strip is much, much, much smaller than the urban centre of Auckland. You know, it's monstrous. There's a reason why the Israelis have cut off telecommunications, heavily restrict media. The media that are in there are constantly being assassinated. And the Israelis have even just very recently illustrated the math that they're happy with. We thought this one guy might be bad, so we killed him and 7 others. If you're targeting journalists, you don't want people to see what's happening. And you don't want people to see what's coming.
So this is up One Tree Hill looking north towards Auckland. So CBD here, Harbour Bridge here, Takapuna and North Rover here. Look at that. I mean, it's hard to maybe think about it this way because it is so green as well. But, you know, imagine no buildings, no nothing. These are hospitals down here. I think this is Green Lane around that area.
Hospitals? Yeah. Hamas. The H in hospital there's also an H in Hamas. The links are very clear, Pat. And then you see a 2,000-pound bunker buster come straight through the fucking ceiling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine Wellington City with 2.5 million people in it.
Yeah.
The population of the South Island is 1.2 million. The entire island. It is madness. And at no point has our government gone, we are going to help.
Yeah.
In whatever way New Zealand can provide.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it for the next month, and we'll get back to you after we've had a few more cups of tea and a little bit of a think about it. And Luxon's going and after see if I can get this David Seymour and this Winston Peters under control. You're not going to, by the way. But we'll think for a bit long because there were some buildings standing, Chewy. So maybe we just wait and see. Maybe they can all live in those buildings. They've got no faces, but there's like a 3-sided room there. So it's not the whole thing. There's still some buildings.
We haven't allowed extra visas for Palestinian family members to come here as an emergency measure. We haven't forced the issue on aid. We haven't tried to send aid ourselves. We haven't offered to send peacekeepers. We've been so passive. And as we saw in Australia, and as we see there's a series of rallies planned this Saturday right throughout the country.
Yeah.
The people want to do something. The people are sick of seeing this. The bots online that are probably run from a hallway full of phones somewhere in Tel Aviv, and they all say that they're from here, and they're all staunch supporters of Israel. They all say we should stay out. And I'm sorry, I keep coming back to this. Israel is no friend to New Zealand. They have done espionage actions in this country before. We booted their ambassador before. So Bish saying that he wants to repair the relationship with Israel a few years back. Why? What reason have they given us? They're certainly not giving any reasons to be on their side now.
Can I offer one other thing? So a reason I stopped just here in this video is I thought that you see that there pretty much in this, that's a pancake building.
That's a pancake building, yep.
That's a pancake building. That's one pancaked building. Do you remember what we did as a country when, through an act of God, we had in Christchurch one particularly badly pancaked building? Do you remember what we did? Do you remember what we did as a country? Do you remember who we were, who we become as a country? When there was, and there's no shade here, trust me, there's no guilt or anything, but what we did as a country when we experienced one pancaked building, the CTV building. Look again. Pancaked, 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 pancaked. People standing on top of a pancake building, pancake building, pancake building, pancake building, pancaked, pancaked, pancaked. I reckon it'd be fair to say some people are still grieving today in New Zealand over one pancake building. And please don't take me out of context. I'm not saying, so it's fine. I'm saying we as a nation mourned for a long, long, long time. I was working as an overnight talkback host when that all happened. I know how we grieved. They were doing it on my show. I don't even want to make a guess, but tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of pancake buildings with people inside. And it's not, hang on, one more thing, one more sentence. And it's not through any fault line or any situation which can't be controlled. It's because of a country with one person at the top driving it, making decisions to do the CTV building thousands and thousands and thousands of times. Chewy.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Is earthquake is one thing that's not a malicious act. It's just something that happens. This is somebody hates you, for who you are and where you're from. And you can't tell me that there was a Hamas soldier in every one of these buildings. Most other countries, like, you can criticize America for what they do, and I'll be there with you. But they at least try, or have tried in the past, to limit collateral damage. They're not always significant, they're not always successful. But this is the equivalent of, it's not even there's one guy there. It's we think there's one guy there, and the solution to that is a 2,000-pound bomb because an AI told us that that's the way to do it.
Or even when there is one, even when there is one guy there. Now, I don't think we agree that one journalist was Hamas, but even let's say that there was one guy.
Not for a minute.
We'll just, but if there was one, we'll just kill the other 20 people there to get the one. That's the other decision that's being made.
They do not care. And you jump on social media and you can find videos, Israelis talking in their own words, Israeli leaders talking in their own words. They haven't been misquoted. They consider the Palestinians subhuman. They think the children that they're killing will be terrorists. They are either fearful or hateful or both. This is generations of teaching and indoctrination. They are so fearful that they have nothing but enemies in the region, that even if they're not Israeli, they're not Jewish Israeli, then they are second, third, or subhuman class. There is no way that you can look at these images and look at how this is played out day after day after day. For what are we coming up on? 3 years now? to see the methodical dismantling of one of the most densely populated parts of the earth. And we wring our hands and go, we can't criticize Israel. We watch videos of settlers kicking bags of flour and rice and beans off aid trucks, spilling infant formula on the ground because they hate these people so much that they are selling this real estate in New York conference centers. They have plans for this. This belongs to them. They are going to put lovely resorts and condos on this land just as soon as they get all the bones out. Maybe they'll just concrete over them. But we cannot say, like the people in the 40s said, that we didn't know until it was too late. We know. We see this every day in our pockets, and our leaders are playing it like, well, we're not sure. Fuck that. You got eyes, don't you? But I saw a thing today that was, we will remember our elected officials for what they've said on this.
Mm-hmm.
We will remember what Chloe have said. We will remember how strong Chris Hipkins made statements. We will remember what Simon Court fucking said. And we will judge them for the rest of their careers. That's what I will do.
To be honest with you, I'm not really interested in doing a hell of a lot more tonight. This happened, blah de blah. Stuff went on, Luxon.
Look, just real quick on this.
Luxon.
Our local media, like I thought it when we watched Mikey Sherman's report yesterday on this COVID inquiry, and I've seen it repeated in every single media outlet today. They have taken the bait on this hook, line, and sinker. There is not one fucking person doing a good job. They are just taking the government's talking points wholesale and regurgitating it. It is bullshit. They have all failed.
Well, let's have a little listen to the man who makes up words as our Prime Minister for a couple of minutes, maybe, and then we'll tap out for the night.
Do you think that they should have summoned the former Prime Minister and Chris Hipkins and the other ministers who have refused to show publicly?
Well, let's be clear, they summoned them, they refused to show, and I think that's not right. We've just gone through the biggest economic challenge this country.
They didn't refuse to show, and it's very clear today, and this is one of the reasons that they can't be summoned, because the QC has the opportunity to do that, but the only way they can do that legally is to summon them and make them come, is if they're refusing to give answers. And what they've all said is, we will give you all the information you need. You can have access to all of the transcripts we've already done, and we will give you anything more you need. We're just not going to be put into a 3-ring circus. That's what they're saying. And you know what? Yeah. I know I said last night, I was pondering, are you either going to get to say your words and have them twisted, or not say your words and have them twisted? But I'm like, think about it over 24 hours. Fair enough. They don't want to go into a 3-ring circus. And they don't, and all their answers are already there. And so they are actually cooperating. They're just not quite doing exactly what this government wants them to do. And yeah, because Chewy, what you're saying is right, because there's no questions in this stand-up where anyone goes, but they have already given all the answers once, that doesn't come out at any stage. So yeah. I learned something talking to Craig Rennie that I hadn't known, and I'm all over this. So imagine what most of the public's like. Most of the public aren't going to have a clue. And remember, this is the most telling one. Chippy said, I set 2 hours aside to speak to them. That's what they asked for. And they, quote, ran out of questions after an hour. So this investigation that they're setting up, this thing that they're getting out there, they don't even have the ability to use the full 2 hours that they say they want, because there's nothing to see here. I will play some more of this though, because one of the reporters does ask quite a good question that, other ministers before have refused to turn up to various times. Who was it? Was it Chore who wouldn't go to the Waitangi Tribunal? That happens all the time. What's so different about this? And it's a fair question to ask.
Country's had in a generation. It was clear from last week, that there was reckless economic vandalism, frankly, that has created and made the cost of living crisis worse. The actions of the Labour government made the current cost of living and the pain and suffering that New Zealanders are experiencing worse. Yeah, that's a fact. That's what happened with respect to the Treasury report last week.
It's not a fact.
And that would be the nature of where I imagine the COVID
It's an
inquiry
opinion.
wants to go as well. And I just think, frankly...
Look, I'll let you have it as an opinion, Mr. Luxon. But, you know, as we know from Kellyanne Conway, there's no such thing as alternative facts. You can have an opinion, fine. Okay? Now let's debate that. It's not a fact.
You know, he should step up and he should show some responsibility and actually present at that commission, that Royal Commission.
Do you think it was fair that some of the reasons they gave, that if they were...
But just remember again, he should present at that Royal Commission. He has. He has presented at the Royal Commission. But, Mr. Luxon, you are saying that he should appear again, aren't you? Because you agree he's already presented. He's already done it. In fact, he went in for a 2-hour conversation and they only needed him for an hour. Correct?
Were to appear like that on a live stream, that it could have been used to fuel misinformation?
No, I think there's a point about accountability and responsibility. And I appreciate that Chris Hipkins wants to get away from the record politically, but actually...
That we supported.
Yes.
That we voted alongside and supported all the way through until we thought it politically expedient for us not to. That we were on board with all the way through.
We've just gone through a very calamitous time in New Zealand economically, and it has caused huge suffering for New Zealanders.
Look, I'll put this out there to you guys, because we don't have all the time to do all things. I would pay someone to go through all the votes taken through the COVID period and get me the information, get us the information that shows exactly how everybody voted all the way through. Because these guys supported all the stuff that they're now accusing the former government of doing. They were on board. I need to find that information, and I may not have time to do it. If someone wants to do that research for me, email me, mail@blindfish.nz, and I'll pay someone to do that.
You know, low and middle income working people in particular, but all New Zealanders are going through it. The level of spending that drove up inflation and interest rates that put the economy into recession, that now has had people lose their jobs, is a really serious thing.
Just keep
repeating
it, bro.
Dispassionately that Treasury report from last week, and the point of actually coming out and actually having a commission that can actually explore those issues and the actions that were taken that actually made the cost of living crisis worse for New Zealanders. I think that's an important thing, because we have all lived through this pain and suffering. We're now to a point, that's Chris Hipkins. He has to be accountable and responsible for the record and for his government and for the actions that they undertook to make the cost of living worse. But going forward, we've been in this government role now for over 18 months, and our job is, and my job is I got to deal with that mess, and I got to clean it up, and I got to fix it, and that's what we're working so.
And you realise that you are throwing a cinder block to the drowning man. You do realise that's what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure.
Hard to do, and that's why we're here today. One part of it is getting growth in the construction sector, and that's through infrastructure.
Well, ministers have decided to not to show up to previous royal commissions. There's considered that the evidence they've given has been enough. What makes it different about this one, that it's so important that these former ministers do show up? Yeah,
look, I think you've seen statements that actually just deny outright the Treasury report from last week, that the $66 billion that was spent that actually led to nothing. Didn't lead to better roads, schools, hospitals, wasn't actually linked to the COVID inquiry, was more than we'd spent in the GFC and through other periods of our time. There's no doubt about it. There was economic mismanagement on a scale that drove a cost of living crisis into New Zealand, and that is a fact.
And of course, we always have to,
bullshit.
You always have to remember as well that cost of living crisis, it was only New Zealand and only Jacinda Ardern. Oh no, sorry, it was the whole world, and she impacted all those countries. That's what it was. Craig Rennie told us something really interesting yesterday about the Treasury report. One of the reasons our numbers look different, and I'm not going to use the word worse, but different from other countries, is we labelled all of our COVID response stuff COVID response. And so it looks like we've spent a lot more on the COVID response in other countries. Other countries did very similar things, but they didn't label those things. Label. I got there. Label those things as their COVID response. They labelled them as other things. So yes, it has this look of what it is, but if you go and have a look at all the other countries and what they did all the same things, but that number 3 on the list, number 5 on the list, number 9 on the list, they weren't labelled COVID response by Australia, as an example, but they were by New Zealand, so it looks like New Zealand spent more. But this is the information. Look, on some level, actually, Chewy, it's probably not the place of the journalist at a stand-up to get into an argument with the Prime Minister. But it is the place
I
to have...
strongly disagree.
Well, I mean... It does feel like I disagree because I'd like to do that too. But as I was listening to that, I was just sitting there thinking, going, what's their job? Is it just to record what the Prime Minister is saying and take it back to the editors to look after, or is it to do a Jack Tame at every stand-up? I don't like it, but I think probably in the news world there's a job for recording what you see and taking it back, and there's a job for debating and pushing back. I would like to see more debate and pushback, but I'm going to give them 1% grace to kind of go, these are probably they won't be the junior reporters, will they? But anyway, I'm just thinking, when does that question get asked? Is it there and then, or is it with
Jack Tame in various flavors, and just have him there?
Chocolate.
Chocolate Jack.
I'd have a chocolate Jack Tame, thanks.
Strawberry blonde.
Okay.
But imagine that, because that was an uninterrupted ideological rant. Game recognizes game. That wasn't objective reasoning. That wasn't based in reality. Like, that needed someone with maybe a megaphone to go, citation needed, you slaphead cunt. What are you talking about?
I actually, I love you, and I agree with you, but I also know that what you've just identified as a long-winded ideological rant would be each news outlet getting a 6-second clip. It was a 1-minute ideological rant because we played all of it. That's not what the news guys would do with it. Anyway, it's look, don't give me too much grief. All right, I know we're twins tonight, so we're not allowed to argue.
A better world is possible, Pat. A better world where reporters get triggered by the Prime Minister in an attempt to tackle him and put him in the hole that he's just dug.
Mata says, that went around the world quicker than a fart in a bathroom. That was talking about Mr. Luxon's thing from earlier. Kiwi Bird says, my pet possum is 1,000 times more sane than Netanyahu. Cooper just says, I don't like Israel. 8 Vasta says, Gaza, 40 kilometres long, 9 kilometres wide, 2 million people. Kai Tuhi, thank you, Pat and Chewy, for being a window to truth. And also Kiwi Skirt, I don't know what you are asking me. I haven't banned anyone, so I don't know.
I fixed it.
You fixed it? Okay. Thanks for the super chat, Kiwi Skirt. Appreciate it, but you should have just emailed us. Okay, cool. I think we're done, Burger. Are we done, Burger? I think we're done, Burger. Yeah. Actually, it was kind of it felt like it was a bit of a comedic release watching old Baldy Locks at the end there after that heaviness with Gaza. But heaviness with Gaza is the appropriate thing.
I'm not going to talk about the story because otherwise we'll be here for another hour. But do go on Stuff and read the story about Luxon's Pavlova helicopter ride. I mentioned it cost conservatively $27,000. But the meat of that story is clearly what Albanese thought about it, and especially what the Australian media thought about that trip.
Which was what? Nutshell
it. Nutshell, they didn't use any of the footage. They weren't part of the activities. Like, Luxon's positioning it as a great way to show off everything that Queenstown has to offer. The Australian media hasn't carried any of the footage of Queenstown apart from something that happened in a conference room. This helicopter ride to the top of the mountain was purely for Luxon's social media.
Oh, hang on.
They didn't take any Australian media up to the top of the mountain. They didn't even take a pull reporter from their networks.
I mean, but it doesn't make sense, Chewy, because of course
we want a government that cares about how every single dollar is spent, because every
$27,000
spends is ultimately a dollar from your pocket.
Yeah, go and read it. Haven't shown you this tonight, but at the moment we have an absolutely clear 100% on their way merch store, which means I am free over the weekend to print and pack some more merch. This could well be the last weekend with the pink BHNs. We do have a few of the pinks left. It probably will, on Monday, it will no longer be there. If you've been sitting there waiting for some pink BHN gear, then I'm going to say it will be gone by Monday. I'll take it down by Monday, because even if we've got 3 or 4 or 5 kind of the pink BHNs left, what would be worse is if, for example, we had 3 left and then there was 5 orders. Then I have to figure out how to let 2 people down. So I'd rather wrap it up with 3 or 4 left than being short 3 or 4. So I will be taking it down by Monday. If you're a fan of the hot pink, then this is the last weekend to get it. And remember, everything else until the same time frame will be on the old price, meaning prices are going up next week. They're going up next week because we've had an increase in price from our suppliers. Everything is still at the original price. I don't think we've ever put the price up. We've been doing this for a couple of years now. So you can have today, tomorrow, through the weekend to get the old price on all the classics. And then everything will be going up and the pink will be going away. BHNshop.nz. Got some more family news at some stage to talk about what we're doing with the BHN shop. That's kind of cool. If you go to the new website, the BHN.nz, I think the shop's even on there. And that's actually something else, just to say, a bit of family time. There's some work going on here. So this is the website. You can see that there's merch on the front page of it. It links you through. But also, from now on, for people who aren't aware, if you ever want to find us on Discord, if you get lost, you can actually go to bhn.nz and you click on it, and there you've got just Discord link. So you know all those links that always change. bhn.nz/Discord. You can find us. bhn.nz/Patreon. Oh, there you go. It takes you straight to the Patreon page. So there you go, whānau. Hope you're all doing well. And yeah, we're turning that into a little hub. The Big Hairy Network. Craig stuff there as well. Gary stuff there as well. We're building it as we speak. All right, Chewy. I'm done, Burger. How you doing?
Just typing out a response to Tom in the chat here. It's got a poor grip of history of the Middle East, but long story short, Tom, guess where the largest population of Jews live outside of, well, Jews in the Middle East outside of Israel live? It's Iran. Just saying. There we go. Won't have to type it out now.
All right, guys. Now the kids will be in tomorrow night. I'm assuming everything's going on for Bright Hairy News tomorrow night with Emily and Magenta. We will keep on keeping on with our plans for next year. There might be some more stuff to tell you about next week. Thank you for being a part of what we're doing this week. It's been fun. And we will catch you, Chewy and I will catch you on Monday night.
Help us settle it to be, whether it be thoughtful or funny, even if we're all creatures of hate. It's a fine line that we're walking together. For better, push aside the temptation to berate. Let's take a note of the corners we stand in. As many points as the hairs on my chinny chin chin. When the news that we're watching is hairy, knowing all the things that we need to be wary of. Like the rich have the hand out for rewards, while the many have to work out what they can't afford. And the rest of us ain't paying attention, or maybe have questions we're too worried to mention. Other media is still dwelling on trivial facts, vetting peas from the rice and the mice from the rats, and picking and choosing a war path to run, and linking ourselves with the hill to die on. It's gotta come down to a welcoming vibe, with an A and a self and a higher in mind. All have a lean either this way or that, and will be analyzed by both Chewy and Pat. With the evil in the world trying to mess with your head, and you're sitting on the couch, you're thinking chivalry's dead. Each night, 2 nights, they're gonna sing you to bed. It's Big Hairy News.
All right, team. Get out to your local protests on Saturday, I reckon, Chewy. I reckon people should, especially after what happened in Sydney, a couple of weeks ago. New Zealand should stand up, get into it. Any thoughts for the weekend, Chewy? Anything you want to leave people with?
Events I believe are listed on Facebook. If you're on Facebook for the Palestinian Solidarity Network, have a list of events. But yeah, it shouldn't be hard to find out what's going on.
All right, team. Catch Emily and Magenta tomorrow night. We'll see you Monday night from 9 for the next edition of Big Hairy News. Hooroo.
Cheers, fam.